Hey everyone, and welcome. We have been asked a lot to give an overview and share about one of our new programs within the board, which is called Mathia Adventure, or formerly known as Zorbits. Now, recently we got asked to make some video supports just with upcoming PD days, but also we shared this with our LSTs and Spec Ed department, and they thought this would be really beneficial. So we wanted to give you an overview of this program, what it entails, and how it can support both teachers and students alike who use it. So let's get started. Just as an indication, in case you're not familiar, this is a math software overview with everything that's available within our board. So we do have a knowledge hook from K to 10, which has both student and teacher resources. So it's both student and teacher facing. And the program we're going to really talk about today is Mathia Adventure, formerly known as Zorbits, which is available to all grade 1 to 3 educators within the board. In addition, as special education, so all LSTs and buildings, in addition to secondary DE classrooms. Now, recently this has actually been upped to grade 1 to 6, but we would actually encourage people to use it from really like a grade 1 to 8, and we'll explain about that a little bit more later. Again, there's student and teacher resources available. And then we have Mathology and Edwin. Mathology is a 2 to 6 resource and available to all of those educators. And Edwin is for grades 7 to 9 to really focus and foster that cross-panel collaboration. Now, an important thing to mention, as all of this comes up quite a bit, is that all of our programs are available in French, and that's why we selected these ones. So if you see a program on here, it's available in French and FSL as well. Those are all purchased centrally. Now, in addition, if you're looking for other math software to use that are approved, we do have these 3 options here. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. You can read them and purchase them. They are great resources, but these have to be purchased at the school level if you want to go forward with those. All right, so Zorbits / Mathia, what is this program all about? What does it entail? So as a brief overview, so really what is this program? So Mathia is really an interactive math software program for grades 1 to 6 really in secondary DE. But the big thing we want to highlight is that this is really an intervention tool, the only one technically we have in the board, which includes embedded heat maps and tracking like you see in a lot of our math and literacy programming already. Now, we do know tech equity is a real thing, so yes, it is a digitized program. However, it does come with a plethora of unplugged math games, lessons, activities, small group instruction, anything that will really support the high instructional practices. Now, again, it's available in French and English. It's available for both Chromebooks and iPads, and we have here a list that's connected to Ontario curriculum by specific expectation, so don't worry about that. And in addition to that, we did send out a digitized poster and memo that will contain all of the links and everything you need in one fixed location. You can click on that after if you need to go over any specific aspect to it, but we'll touch on that a little bit later. So really the big thing is, how do you log into this program here? So in theory, all of our teachers should have been sent an email activation link earlier this year. However, we had a lot of turnover just with IT at the beginning of the year, and for a lot of different reasons, some of those emails got through, but not necessarily all of them. So no worries if you didn't receive one. But to sign in, we're going to get you to use your TV number at tvdsb.ca. Because we don't have Google single sign-on. So some of the issues are that people are trying to sign in with their Google account and it will show up as an error. Please don't use that or your GoTVDSB email. It will not work. If you are looking to get registered, you can email both Jazz and or Michelle. They are phenomenal and will get you started. But even if you want to expedite that and just send an email to me, that's no problem. You can email Derek or Neil or Hannah as well, and we can help you get activated in using this program. So really, what is Mathia then? It's really a 3-part platform. It's blended learning, it's lesson planning, but really there's a lot of focus on the triangulation of data through assessment through a research lens. So an important thing to mention about this program, it's one of the only ones that is actually research backed and as an intervention tool. So we're really excited about what that can afford for programming needs. So one of the big differences about Mathia versus other programs, and their team kind of laughs about this, and they say like, okay, so some of those other programs are a lot of fun and great for kids. However, it's kind of like chocolate covered broccoli, where you do one math question, and then you get to play basically equivalent of a video game for 15 or 20 minutes before you have to do another question. Whereas Mathia has the math tools we're looking to use, such as 10 frames, number lines, trapezoids, you name it, all embedded directly into their game first design. So although it takes the look of a gamified approach, it is very math centered first. And that's a really important thing. So within that, in terms of what frameworks it's supporting, you can see here everything that like it really uses, but it's an adaptive technology based on core competencies through cognitive understanding, leading to more procedural fluency. So important thing to highlight is that it already embeds the CRA model in everything it does. So when we're encouraging everyone to use these kind of tools and have a balanced math program, this program also follows a similar cadence. So you'll see the concrete, the pictorial, the abstract, and it'll break that down within the confines of the games for students in an adaptive learning environment. So how does this actually work and why is it beneficial? So the biggest, like most proprietary thing about this program is that it's automatically scaffolded and adapted for learning. So let's just take a look at this example here. You have Zorbit, our friend, who's trying to do some calculations using a number line. And let's just say our students absolutely like answer this fairly well. Well, what's going to happen is it's going to be adapted. If they answer this correctly, it's going to scaffold and move them to the next progression. So you'll slowly see that now it takes away that trajectory. So now that students have to figure this out without those benchmarks in place to see, can they progress and can we foster that gradual release of responsibility for them? So you'll slowly start to see that it'll move off benchmarks and challenges will get more complicated as we go through. But at the same point, if students aren't successful, it will leave those in place and automatically embed remediation strategies and interventions for students to use. So this is automatically adapted. Teachers do not have to do anything on their end to do this. Now, once you get into the program, and I will model this in just a few moments, here you're going to see an overview of like what we call their LMS or their learning management system. And it works very much like everything you've used in the past. Like along the far left, you're going to see like your classes and then different features within it, like the resources, game guide. I'll walk through these in a minute. But to manage your class, you'll see it up here near the top left-hand corner where you can update students in the update roster section. You can change what we call the game controls. And why this is beneficial and why we really like this versus some other programs is students will not know what grade level they're working at. And this is done intentionally for intervention programs because a lot of our IEP students or students who are just needing additional accommodations, they will feel that they're just going to these planets. They won't see a grade because the focus is on their ability level and cognitive skill rather than what grade they're in. Also, what teachers can do is they can actually focus on strands that they want to. So for example, let's say there was an emphasis as our school improvement plan on just number in our school. So I could check off that I only want the number questions available, or in this case, a planet, so students aren't spending a great deal of time going into measurement or geometry. You can pick and choose this however you want, but just know that's available in terms of a customization. So students and teachers have some control over this, that if you only want students to do a select number of strands, they can, and you can make that as little or as much as they want. And you can go either below your current grade level for those students or above for enrichment if you want as well. So just something to keep in mind. Now, as you move forward, here's an example of what it looks like. And as I mentioned earlier, rather than saying something like grade 1, 2, and 3, students will actually go to these planets and they will have no idea what they are. So the focus is more on the math rather than like what their quantitative like grade is coming out to be. And that's very intentional within this program. So, and I should mention, even though that is like true, and that's a point of emphasis, that the teachers do know like the grades obviously behind the scenes. It's just for student facing, they won't see it. Now later you have the option to create assignments, and you'll see that you have this little backpack in the right hand corner here. I can even zoom in just so you can see it, and you'll get little notifications, or rather students will, that if you assign them a given question, they will see that at a given planet, oh, I've got this little notification. My teacher might want me to go here and actually complete something. So that's how the alerts work. Students would then move to that planet and complete the task. So that's like kind of the student facing. What about the teachers? What does that look like for them? So here is the dashboard home. So once you're logged in and active with your account, you will see that like you have a homepage button. And this is just a fake teacher account, just for the record. So these are not real students. You don't have to worry. But it'll give you a breakdown of the recent activity and what students have or may have not completed. And then what's awesome is it will amalgamate the data for you and determine what learning gaps there are. So it'll say, oh, I notice in kindergarten from this date range that there's these gaps, both based on subtraction, measurement, a couple accommodations. And then it will automatically give you recommendations that is not more load on the teachers, because we know that they have so much that they're going through and trying to work through. So this actually mitigates some of their workload a little bit while still being researched back and proven to really help the students. So that's one way it helps. Now, one of the best things is on the left-hand side again, you'll see that there's a progress bar. Now here is where I talked about those heat maps. And it's going to be hard to see right now, but right now it'll break it down by strand and you can see how students are performing. But it's honestly one of the most impressive data analytics platforms that we've come across, not just in math software, but any real software, because you can dial down and break down this like operations goal really quickly and see how did they do on the specific expectations within operations, how much long time were they on task, how did they report in terms of feeling while doing the given task. And this can create a real like powerful like small group instruction for our teachers if they're making either like homogeneous or heterogeneous groups. This will give them some indication of how students are faring, both in class and at home in terms of additional supports. So this is a really powerful tool and something that they're really proud of as well. All right, so eventually it comes down to the assignments. You will see that there's curriculum attached to each and every single one, and I'll show that in just a minute. But just note that you can pull up assignments by grade and by like specific strands and by specific skills. And we'll show that more in a minute, but everything's available there for all of our educators. So within that, once you click, you'll see that you can pull up the exact specific curriculum that it's addressing in those given challenges, and you can assign assignments to your kids to complete whenever you so feel. All right, so we mentioned earlier too, yes, this is a digital program, but one of the best benefits is that there's actually unplugged resources. So if you ever click along the left and you're like, oh, we've got low bandwidth, this isn't going to be viable for us, or we don't have enough Chromebooks, because we do know tech equity is a real thing. Well, here we have unplugged resources that students and teachers can download anytime. And what's awesome, you can select and filter by grade, strand, subject matter, and I'll show later, you can actually do this based on the type of task you want. Do you want an exit ticket? Do you want a math game? Whatever it is, you can print these out, have them ready to go, and they're like fairly quick and easy and ready to use. And there's just curriculum understandings for them as well. They'll give like the key questions, how do you support learners, and what extensions are available while using them. And this is just example of a couple of printouts that would be available to use anytime. You could print them all out ahead of time if you want, just to have a binder ready to go, even for like your LSTs as support if they need that necessary. All right, so one of the things we're also really excited about is our team actually took all the grades from 1 to 6, and we took all those downloadable resources and connect them to specific expectations. So if you actually click up here in the link, and I'll try to open this up here for a second, but what you will do is when you go here, it'll create a Google folder. And then once you pull it up, you will see that we have each grade. And when we open up one of these docs, and hopefully it doesn't take too long, and if my internet collaborates, I'll let it go. But if not, what it's going to do, it's going to open a doc, and it's going to allow us to connect to any of the options at any specific strand. So let's say I'm trying to teach B1.2. I can actually go to this doc, click on B1.2, and I can either select the English or French unplugged document, and it will give me at least a few tools that I can use in my classroom that might be beneficial for teaching this concept. So it might not open up here. So there we go. I'll double click it again. Sometimes it takes a second and we'll see how that goes. But I'm going to go here and it'll just take a second. So here it is. So here's our grade 2 teacher guide. It gives all of the expectations per strand that's available. But like I said, here's B1.2. So I want to know how to compare and order numbers up to including 200 in various contexts. Well, now I've got 3 different activities that are unplugged that I can use right away. And sorry, just cut out there, but here we go. So here it is. So I could actually just click on this English link and it'll take me directly to there. And we have this for every specific expectation, trying to make it easier for teachers to understand, how to use. Because yeah, we know there's a lot of information, but sometimes it's too much info. So we're trying to amalgamate that and make it a little easier for everyone to access. All right, so let's go back into our presentation here quick. All right, so that's what we have. And again, this is really one of the core features. It's called the game guide. So this is a chance where if teachers don't know what's happening or what they're assigning their students, here they can actually test and go for themselves to see, hey, is this something that might benefit my students? Yes or no. And if they feel yes, then maybe they try it out and then possibly they go back up to the assignments and they try to assign it to their kids. So this game guide allows teachers to give an overview of the lessons, how they would model this, how they would show it to the kids, and whether or not they should assign it for their given class. All right, and so this is just an overview of how it will look like. Here's an activity overview. Here's the grade level, how to play, tips. And what's something really nice is they have variation strategies. So let's say in this case, they want to go with doubles, but maybe that's too far along for your class where they are currently. So maybe you're going to adapt that and then you're going to try to play the activity. So it's kind of nice that there's adaptiveness within the program for everybody else as well. Lastly, just before I go into the live mode, you will see that one of the greatest things that they have is their online support is fantastic. So they do have a quick start guide for anybody looking to do this past the scope of this video. They have a plethora of on-demand videos that are amazing. So it's saying something like, how do I add a co-teacher? What happens if I forget how to add an assignment? Whatever it is, they're available here. They also have support articles. And there's a live chat where you can contact support. And we have to say this team's amazing and based in Canada. So they really help us out quite extensively. And this just is an example of a quick overview of all the support that's available within the program. Okay. So I'm going to get out of this presentation because I'm going to go into the Zorbits dashboard just quickly and just kind of show you what we're looking at. So I'm going to get into the teacher dashboard. And this is just like our random class. So just in case you ever wanted to see, right now in the upper right-hand corner, you can just see my account. We see that we're in Canada, which is great. And then in the upper left-hand corner, I've got the little Mathia Overview logo, and I have my classes. So I could, in theory, create multiple classes. And if you're an LST, you might want to go this option, just so you can track where each student is from and set them up with their homeroom teacher if you want to. So if I click on my classes, for example, I just have some test random ones, but I'm just going to use this one for right now, just because it has my own kids in it just to model. Now, at any point in time, if you want to manage your class, all I have to do is in this upper left-hand corner where it says Manage Class, I'm going to click on this. And I can go into my class settings or update my roster. So updating the roster is probably the most important. So here you can see I've got my own kids, but if I just want to add a student, I could just type in, I'm just going to type in Scott Askey just as a test. And all I have to do to add Scott is just hit this little positive icon or addition sign. And now you'll see that Scott gets added in and I can edit their settings at any time. Once I've uploaded my entire roster, I'm just going to hit this blue Enroll Student button, and that will make everybody active. Okay. So another nice thing that they do is what happens for students, we might lose these login information over time, especially for our littles. So if you click and download these login cards, and I'm just going to click the K-3 one for now, you will see that it opens up and creates login cards for each and every single student. So now I can put these in a binder, have them somewhere attached for where I want, and now I don't have to make anything. And this is just how they get to the website and all of their core info. In addition to that, they also have home access letters that can be sent home so that if parents are wondering what's happening, how do we access this at home? what's going on. Well, now it'll make a letter for each guardian that they can use and like what they're doing and why and how they can use to access this. Okay. So this is really just sort of like the core management system of how you would go about adding students to your class. So within that, I'm not going to save this. I'm just going to go back. So let's go check out some other core features. So this is just like the home page. I can see all the different things here, like what my students have done recently or what they've not done. But I'm going to just click on the progress bar on the left for a second. And this is just where I talked about that data earlier. And keep in mind, for me, I'm not like doing this a lot with my students, like my own kids, but here you can see like what we have from the like analytics. And my one son Tatum is like doing these questions, and yeah, it's green. That's great in terms of operations. But if I click on this and drop down, now it's going to give me the specific strategies they were doing, like can they compose 10, 5, anchors of 5, number sense, like tallies, everything that they need. And keep in mind, I could extend Tatum into grade 1 or 2 if I wanted to without him knowing. So I have that option there. Okay, so this is just like a sample of like your reports that you can pull up. This one is for your K to 3 and this one's for your 4 to 6. All right. Now here's that assignment tab. So if I ever wanted to make an assignment for a class, I'm just going to make a random one quickly. I'm going to click on this purple create a custom assignment. And now all I have to do is select a grade. So I'm going to select a grade 2. I'm going to select a subject and I'll go operations. And then I just hit next. So right now I've got a couple of different options here, and you'll see I've got the specific expectation based on what I'm looking for. So maybe I want to do 2-digit additions. So I select on this box. And then I feel like pretty good. So that's what I want to assign. And I can change the number of levels or complexity to this and then just hit next. Now, what's really nice is I can differentiate here. So yes, I can give it a unique name, but I can assign it to all of my students, or maybe I just assign it to one and then send it out. I'm not going to send that out right now, but all I would do is click and then hit next and then publish it at a given date. So you can actually do this ahead of time as well, which is really nice. So that if you want to date this for, hey, I want a new task to come out every Monday, but I'm going to do that on the weekend. You can set that up in advance so that you're set up through the whole year and your students have something to work on. Now, the resource tab is the one I mentioned again, that is the unplugged activities. So here are all the unplugged activities that you can use. There's a lot in there. But again, I can filter it by grade. So by just clicking on which grade I'm focused on, maybe even strand. And I can do it by like language setting as well. But then maybe I want to do a math talk, a guided lesson, a game. There's so many things that you can do. And maybe I want to filter by like small group and I want to focus on those high instructional practices. You can do this as well. And there's something there for everyone. All right. But I'll let you go through that at your leisure. Lastly, there's the game guide. The game guide is really just, again, where I said you can test out the programs. So I'm in a grade 2 class. So I'm going to go to grade 2. I have all these different games and things that I can go through. And I'm going to go to operations just to see what's available. And let's do this base 10 bridge. So I'm going to hit the view guide. So when I go to hit the view guide, like you'll see some images for it. It'll give me how to play. And I can do I can focus on what I want now. So I can do subtraction. I can do 2-digit addition. So if I do 2-digit addition and then just hit play activity, what it will do is it'll start to upload how it's going to look for the students. And at first there's just this little part as it loads. So you're just going to see something come up like in a spaceship. It's not really the game. And as soon as that, it's just a different way to have a different loading screen. And in a second, yeah, you'll see this. So like I just can like shoot these little things, these asteroids, and they're just getting them used to kind of like supertizing a little bit for some of these things and making it fun as the program loads. I just like to have a little fun here now as I do it. But now it's going to actually take me to the given activity in just a second, and then it will be available so I can walk through it. Sometimes it'll do this again just in the beta as I go through. And eventually I'm going to get to this activity that... here we go.
Looks as though they tore down the old bridge. We'll need to build a new one if we want to cross this ravine.
Can you help find the distance by building a bridge using 10s and 1s?
So now you're getting into like using like different block standard of measurement, and then you're seeing like that we have number line partitions here, and we have to fill like the missing add end to make this work. So this is just an example of like what we have. I can retry, I can go back to the game guide. So, and then I can just pick a different one if I didn't like it. So really this is just a place to allow you to test as the educator to see if you like it. The very last thing is just the help center that I mentioned. So along the bottom left-hand corner, if you click the help center, you can go here, again, watch the videos, look at the support, talk to anybody directly, but this is how you would get everything. Now, I know that's a lot to throw at you. What we really hope that you can do is use some of this information. A big help would just be just to get you registered. So you can, again, email Jazz, Michelle, or me, and also Neil and Hannah as well for that matter. We can get you added to the platform, and then you can explore more in depth on your own and see if this is something that you want to use a little bit further in the future. We hope this video was really beneficial to you. And if you have additional questions or comments, please reach out and we're happy to help. Thanks, everyone.